Folks, I want to talk to you a little bit about putting your body into the state of ketosis. Not normal, because we eat carbs and we burn those carbs for fuel, to keep us going. Sometimes when we have health problems, seeing if those health problems are linked with diet means putting yourself into a state of ketosis. Keto is short for ketosis, right? Joining me right now is a friend of mine. Every time I look over there, I smile because I knew Alan when he was 17 or 18 years old, 35 years ago. Alan came to me requesting information on, I was probably the only guy who understood, long ago, the ketogenic diet. And Alan, it's fascinating because back at one of the major hospitals, nurses figured out that when they restricted carbohydrates from children with epilepsy, the children got better, and they reported it to the doctors, and they began saying, what's going on? What was going on with those kids?
It's based upon the notion of fasting for better health. And that's what they did back 100 years ago or over 100 years ago, even back in the biblical days. What did they do when people were sick like that? The only thing that really worked was fasting. And so eating nothing and kind of calming down the metabolism, and it seemed to have worked. The biggest problem with it is that how do you sustain fasting? You're going to eventually starve to death. But that's the whole basis of nutritional ketosis, i.e. a ketogenic diet, is that it's so beneficial for health because why? Because it mimics fasting without actually starving.
So folks, normally, like I said, you'll have a donut, a bagel. Well, you watching wouldn't because you're all on the Kaufman diet, but me in the old days would have had a donut, a bagel, some pasta and so forth. And you burn those carbs, that sugar, off. And sugar is very addicting, right? And what this says is, okay, cut out the carbs or cut way down. The Kaufman diet says cut way down on the carbs. And then you begin to burn fat. Did I say fat? I want to show you a picture with your approval. Are you okay with this?
Oh, absolutely.
I want to show you a picture of Alan a couple of years ago when he came to me and said, Doug, I need to lose weight. And I didn't get it, Alan. I really didn't understand it back then because that's the way I knew you. Here is a picture of Alan at probably a couple 100 pounds on the left. And then along came KetoMed. Do you take this every day?
I do. I take KetoMed every single day, and because I obviously formulated the product, I've been taking it for years, even before it was available.
Right.
And so it's a precise formula. It might look the same as other powders that you see in a health food store, but it's far, far different. And the formula is extremely meticulous, meaning that in order for it to help somebody reach a level, even a light level of ketosis, that's something, unlike most diets, this is something that's measurable. So in other words, you know if KetoMed is working, you know if a ketogenic diet is working because nutritional ketosis is something that can be measured. And so it's a metabolic process. It's basically when your body goes into fueling off of what's known as ketones. In fact, science is actually calling it the fourth macronutrient. We talk in terms of macronutrients being protein, carbs, and fats, but this is like a very clean burning energy. And that's why the ketogenic diet has been around. Not only has it been around for 100 years, and contrary to what a lot of people in our modern day thought that it would go away, it's going to be around in 100 years from now.
I lectured a couple of years ago, I don't even know where it was, but one of the lecturers couldn't make it because he had a tooth pulled or something. He had written a book about putting cancer patients into ketosis. Do you know who I'm talking about?
Dr. Siegfried.
So you've read Dr. Siegfried's book also. Blew me away.
Great book. And what's interesting about the book is he talks in terms of what he refers to as a restricted ketogenic diet, a strict ketogenic diet. And what's interesting about those guidelines to achieving a true, what's called what would be referred to as a true ketogenic diet, or a classic ketogenic diet, or a clinical ketogenic diet, a true ketogenic diet, what is that? Well, the true definition is a very healthy, clean eating program that's very high in fat, but very low in carbohydrate. But unlike, and this is where there's a lot of confusion. It's a small but very important difference. That with regard to protein on a ketogenic diet, if you want to reach optimal levels of ketosis and get the true benefits, you don't necessarily want to be on a high protein, low carb diet. It might be high fat, high protein, low carb, but just because it's low carb isn't the recipe. That's not necessarily the secret recipe for reaching nutritional ketosis, because you have to do it in combination with low carb, has to be done in combo with high fat simultaneously, but not high protein, moderate protein, because it could cause, if it's too high in protein, even though the diet itself is low in carb, it could cause gluconeogenesis, meaning that the carbohydrates could end up behaving like a or the protein could behave like a carbohydrate.
Oh, really?
In the body. So the protein needs to be moderate to low, the fat needs to be high, but good quality fat, and of course the carbohydrate and sugar need to be kept to a very minimum, and that is why the results are achieved with something like KetoMed, because these formula differences make a huge difference in terms of results.
I was driving across the great state of Texas, and my wife and I stopped in a health food store, and there were keto containers about half the size of yours on a table that said half price.
Right.
And I thought, wow, that's strange, because everybody knows keto, right? I pick it up and look at it, and maltodextrin, sugars. Yours doesn't have any of that.
You know, and the thing that I realized, Doug, is that when people are looking at labels, they're a little confused.
Yeah.
When you look at micrograms and grams, these aren't household measurements that people can relate to. We talk in terms of cups and teaspoons. And when you look at these labels, people don't have a calculator with them, but when you add up and calculate the percentages, most of the so-called keto products aren't even ketogenic.
See, that's where I salute you. Thank you for doing what you did. When you get KetoMed, you're getting the keto diet in a can. Thanks, Alan. Good to see you.
Thank you.